happy to do events with you all because, for us, it's very important. Information is important, and how to take care of yourself is very important. So I'm always available. So when Balaka got across to me, said, webinar, I said, fantastic. I'm very happy to do it.
Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, one question I had. All of you keep saying that you have undergone pelvic floor physiotherapy. What have you undergone actually? I would ask, what is the pelvic floor physiotherapy you've undergone? Arun Dayana, she said she had undergone. So what is the pelvic floor physiotherapy you did?
Ma'am, internal release as well as working on glutes. I had just, for me, it is quite long away, so I couldn't travel for 3 to 4 hours. So I attended only 2 sessions.
Yeah, but you know what? And I think Ruchita and all know about this, that physiotherapy is a little beyond that. You also need to relax it's not just the glutes and it's not just the internal release. It's also your levator, your pelvic floor has, have you heard of the levator muscle? You have a whole muscle group below, which is the lower part of the pelvis. Now, your urethra goes through it, your anal canal goes through it, and your vagina goes through it. Now, when you have bladder pain, it's your muscles around the bladder that go into spasm, not just the glutes, right? And it is very important to do relaxation exercises of those muscles. So we do something called as biofeedback. So I do hardcore biofeedback, and in the biofeedback we can actually see which muscles are in spasm, right? So there is a Maple physiotherapy machine I use where I can actually look at your muscle like a grid, and I can make out where you have spasm, and you can work on those muscles. And so we take, also there's a blowing technique I teach everybody, right? When you have dysfunctional voiding, when you're not able to pee, imagine you're blowing through a straw, but not pushing, not straining. Imagine if you're blowing through a straw. So what happens is, a lot of patients with bladder pain syndrome, their muscles are in spasm, right? Now, when you go to pee, the first step of peeing is muscle relaxation. Your pelvic muscle relaxes. That's the first step. But if you have inflamed bladder, the muscles will go into spasm, correct? And you will not relax the pelvic floor. So many women who have got bladder pain syndrome also have dysfunctional voiding, not being able to pee. So it's a tendency you develop. So what I tend to do is I will do biofeedback. So I do it myself. And we have a team doing it in Delhi and Mumbai. I have a Delhi center also, right, where Ritika and all went. And madam is here, right? I have another patient.
Ravi,
yeah.
I'm there.
Yes. You're my Delhi patient, right? I have a center in Delhi and Mumbai, right? And Delhi, we have Karishma now. She's excellent. So what we do is we have a biofeedback machine where we have a probe that goes to the vagina, and I make the patient do a maneuver called reverse Kegel, blowing maneuver. So, imagine you're blowing through a straw. Okay, imagine an imaginary straw and you're blowing through it. When I blow through it without straining, it causes relaxation of pelvic floor. It prevents your pelvic floor from contracting. It counteracts your pelvic floor from contracting. So I teach my patients how to do that. So they come to me, they undergo biofeedback, they will go through with a probe inside, they will do the blowing maneuver. They can see on the computer actually. Biofeedback means that I will have a probe in the vagina, and whatever I make you do, squeeze the muscle, relax the muscle, you'll be able to see on the screen what is happening. So when you put a probe in the vagina and ask or the anal canal and ask the patient to blow, they can automatically see on the computer that the pelvic muscle is relaxing, right? And they have to learn to do blowing without pushing, right? Because we tend to push our abdominal muscles, right? So you should not strain your pelvic abdominal muscles, but relax the pelvic floor. So I put them, they come to me weekly. I do this biofeedback, take them through 10 sittings, 10 sessions of 10 seconds, like around each blowing thing is 10 seconds long and 10-second relax. So you do 10-second blowing, 10-second relax around 20 times. And then I will do electrical stimulation, kind of relaxation stimulation of the muscles that are taut, right? And then they go back home and practice it. They will practice the blowing maneuver 3 times a day, 10 times each. And when they're going to pee and when they're going to pass stools. So it counteracts the tendency to go into dysfunctional voiding. It also causes a lot of pain relief. So when I do physiotherapy, for me, that is an essential part of it, not just trigger points or, spasm release inside the vagina or glutes relaxation, so it's very important. If you want, I will send you the maneuver, how to do that maneuver.
I have one more question. Since
Yes.
you are referring to trigger points as in pelvic floor, you mean to? As I have fibromyalgia and I have trigger points all over the body actually. So that may be the contributing factor in the pain. I wanted to
Yes,
know.
basically, yeah, it does. So a lot of these conditions go together. So IBS goes along with bladder pain syndrome. Fibromyalgia goes along with bladder pain syndrome. Now, fibromyalgia, see, the problem with fibromyalgia is not a very easily understood condition. So you do have muscle trigger points all over. Now, pain, the problem with pain is pain tends to get in more, say, the pain might start off in a particular area, but it tends to get in more and more ganglia involved. Ganglia meaning the nerves, the nerves of the body, all of them come and meet a certain point in the body. They call ganglia, right? So what happens, unfortunately, is that it will start off as bladder pain, then it will go on to become a pelvic pain, then it will go on to become a lower back pain, because more and more and more and more neurons and ganglia are getting involved, and the pain starts going everywhere. And fibromyalgia, unfortunately, being a pain condition, being a muscle spasm condition, being a condition where your muscles are already, you tend to have more of that, right? So you obviously need a lot of meditation. You need to have muscle relaxation of the body, and you have to undergo pelvic floor relaxation physiotherapy, not just trigger points.
Okay, thank you.
Where are you based?
Delhi.
Okay.
Anyone else?
So I just want to say this one thing, the treatment needs to be all together. So basically you need to do diet chart, fluid chart, you need to do meditation, you need to get oral medication, which will be pentosan polysulfate, maybe some medication for the urgency frequency. Then you may get citrus soda, which will make the urine alkaline. Then you might need a little bit of pre-leaf. You might need a little bit of amitriptyline, but I will put different combination based upon the patient. But also bladder instillation, because the medication will act for long. Pentosan polysulfate takes 6 months to act, literally. But your bladder instillation immediately required, because it will give you acute relief. So I will do 10 sittings of bladder instillations along with the medication. At the same time, then I might start physiotherapy, pelvic floor relaxation, because many of my patients do come with dysfunctional voiding, and anyway in pain, the pelvic floor physiotherapy helps. So all of it together helps. Then doing one thing first, and then another thing, then third thing. Second thing of pentosan polysulfate, I must tell you, is this: the evidence for it is very, very, very lacking. So in fact, some of the Europe guidelines have come out saying you don't even need Elmiron, but I will be careful not to follow that guideline, because unfortunately the studies are not good enough. Secondly, one thing I must tell you is this: too many of my patients who've been elsewhere, they come to me, they've been taking Elmiron or pentosan polysulfate along with food. Or you have to take Elmiron on, or pentosan polysulfate, that is your for IC or your Cystopan, all of these drugs on empty stomach. That means for 1.5 hours before and 1.5 hours after, please do not eat or drink anything. So you have to be so strict about that, because even if you take it on empty stomach, only 16% of the drug goes into the bladder, unfortunately. So many times you may be taking it wrongly. Please take 3 times a day. Do not take twice a day, because many patients are doing things like that. They start taking it twice a day, or they will miss. Please don't do that, because every drug, when you take it, it has a half-life. Half-life meaning how long does it remain in the right dose in the blood. Now, it's supposed to be taken 3 times a day, because only then will it remain in your bloodstream and go to the bladder in the right concentration. Secondly, if you take it with food, it is not going to allow it absorption, and you're even out of 16%, hardly anything will go into the bladder, right? So 1.5 hours before, 1.5 hours after, please do not, take any food. Lastly, very importantly, do not take thyroid medication along with pentosan polysulfate, because if you take thyroid medication along with pentosan polysulfate or Elmiron or Cystopan or whichever drug you're taking, you can get hypothyroidism, because it reduces absorption of thyroid medication, right? So please be clear about that. Patients, there's so many hypothyroid patients around. Sometimes we don't take history and we don't realize that they're taking thyroid medication. And if your hypothyroidism is occurring, it can worsen your symptoms, because thyroid is so important as the petrol of the body. Literally, it's the petrol of the body. So please remember, don't take any other medication with pentosan polysulfate. So normally I tell patients that get up in the morning at around 4 o'clock, just put an alarm, get up, take it, and then go back to sleep. Then you get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, then you can, whatever, you will do your breakfast, etc. Then around 11 o'clock, you can have the next dose because you've had your breakfast before 9 o'clock. So you will have 2 hours of empty stomach. Then say 10:30, 11. And then maybe at 12:30, you might have your 12:45, 10 minutes before a meal, right? So you might have your pre-leaf. And then you have your lunch. And then 4 o'clock, again, you can have your pentosan polysulfate, right? So you can divide it like that. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask that many of the IC patients, they also suffer from comorbid conditions like IBS and endometriosis and fibromyalgia. So would you just highlight on that?
Yeah, these are all inflammatory conditions. Now, obviously, all of them have release of, when you have inflammation in the body, you have something called leukotrienes. There are these which are released. These are all inflammatory mediators. What are inflammatory mediators? If I have any inflammation, suppose I cut my hand or I have an infection of the hand, my body will try to heal it. Correct? It means what happens is a lot of the blood cells, the white blood cells will go into that area and they will break up and release these inflammatory mediators which try to heal it. Correct? Now, can I get a question again? I lost the chain of thought. Sorry about that.
So I was just asking about the comorbid conditions that is there.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was talking. So, sorry about that. So these inflammatory mediators are a part of multiple conditions. They can be a part of bladder pain syndrome. They can be a part of fibromyalgia. They can be part of endometriosis. They can be a part of rheumatoid arthritis. So many of these autoimmune conditions. What I'm meaning of autoimmune? Autoimmune is when your own antibodies, your own body acts against your body parts, right? So say I have hypothyroidism. So my there are antibodies in my body which are acting against my own thyroid gland, right? So all of these conditions tend to go together. Rheumatoid arthritis is where your joints are being damaged by the inflammatory mediators, right? So many of these inflammatory conditions tend to go together. So it is very important to actually treat all of it together, honestly, because if you have IBS and that's not treated, if you have constipation and alternating bowel habits, it's going to worsen your bladder pain syndrome. So you can't have, when I get patients with IBS, I will give you, have you heard of FODMAP diet? FODMAP? Very important.
No, I haven't, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what FODMAP is. It's very important. So many patients who have got IBS need to be on something called as FODMAP diet. What is FODMAP diet? FODMAP diet is that a lot of the carbohydrates we eat, they're medium chain. You know what carbohydrate is? Carbohydrate is CH3, CH2, 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 like multiple carbons together. Now, carbohydrate can be different lengths. That means number of carbon, in it. So many of the carbohydrates, which got medium chain carbohydrates, the number of C's are in the middle range. Those, when you digest, there's a lot of gas production. So when you have IBS, I have to give you FODMAP diet. I will give you that diet also. Please forward it to everybody, so that if you have any bowel issues, you can start taking FODMAP diet. Now, that's patient FODMAP diet because milk is bad for you. Okay, rajma is bad for you. Beans are bad for you. Then milk products are bad for you, which may be okay in bladder pain syndrome. Correct? But it's good for IBS. Now I have patients because they can't eat anything else, they start eating a lot of FODMAP. And that's worsening their IBS. And when it worsens the IBS, then their IBS worsens, So you have to have so when you have both IBS and your bladder pain syndrome, I will sit with you and decide what works for you between the two diets. And we'll come to, very important. Lastly, fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia patient, very, 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 very important to ensure that you are meditating, you are, remaining stress-free, and you're doing pain neuromodulation. Pain neuromodulation, electrical stimulation might help you a little bit. What is your name? Your name is Arun Daya, or what is the name? It's maybe the name through which you are.
Yeah, my name is Arun Daya.
Oh, nice.
And would you also talk about vulvodynia, because that seems to be one disease that not many are aware of. Even doctors don't talk about it.
Yeah. So vulvodynia, I will not go into great detail of it, but vulvodynia is almost like a waste paper basket diagnosis, literally, in the sense that oftentimes what happens is that you have pain, correct, in the vulval area. That pain can be a generalized kind of pain. That's like a generalized vestibular vulvodynia, or you can have a localized kind of thing, right? Now this is where your nerve receptors are opened up. So the vulval area has a lot of nerve receptors. They're all open, and your skin covers it, right? So for some reason, if there's an alteration of the stimulation of the nerve receptors, something happens in the skin where the nerves are getting, irritated, then you can have a generalized vulvodynia, or you can have a localized one, where localized meaning one particular area, like a vestibular part, is getting involved. Now, when you have a localized bit, now there are many reasons for it. It may be that, one thing I must tell you, a lot of antibiotics can lead to vulvodynia. Now, there are a lot of patients who have been on antibiotics for years on end. I got somebody from Imphal, 12 years of history of taking antibiotics literally daily, because her bladder pain syndrome was getting misdiagnosed as UTI. And everybody kept on giving antibiotics left, right, center. And that can cause alteration of the nerve receptors in the vulva, and then she developed vulvodynia as a reaction to that, right? So very important to remember that what medication you take, especially antibiotics, can cause an impact on that area. Then the kind of sometimes you could have an injury there that's perpetuated, or vulvodynia. See, the problem is that in bladder pain syndrome, one thing that bladder pain syndrome patients need to know is this: you can have a lot of referred pain. Meaning, what is the meaning of referred pain, right? A lot of patients will come and tell you the tip of the urethra is paining. At the point where urine is going out of the, they'll tell you that way, right? It's like the point where urine is coming out of the urethra is paining a lot. They may be having urethritis, but also sometimes you have referred pain from the bladder, right? So, for example, when you have a toothache, correct? And Ruchita can tell you this, right? Your tooth is inflamed, but your whole jaw will pain because entire area is involved in it's referred pain, and more ganglia around there get involved. That's what happens in bladder pain syndrome patients. So you can have referred pain. You can also have receptors in, like I told you, if you have one particular level of nerves involved, it can start involving other nerves. That's when you start having vulvar pain, because your vulval area neurons are getting inflamed or getting involved. Your lower back is getting involved. So vulvodynia sometimes goes into bladder pain, but bladder treatment is very, very, very difficult. When you have localized vulvodynia, I might take off that particular skin. Actually, we do a surgery where that particular skin is only taken off. But when you're generalized, then you can only go with certain ointments or certain numbing agents, etc. But the treatment is very difficult.
Can we have referred pain in leg too?
Leg meaning where? Along the medial part of the leg, around the inner part of the leg, or the outside of the leg?
For me, it radiates to whole leg. Starting from thigh area to toe, it travels down, and when I pee, the pain comes down too.
Okay, so it is very rare to have the cyclical kind of thing you're describing, where you have pain on full bladder, but when you impede, it comes down. But what can happen is that because you have inflammation of the bladder, your pelvic muscles get spasmed up. When your pelvic muscles get spasmed up, the surrounding glutes get spasmed up. Then you get very bad posture. Then your joint is all deranged, right? And then you can have nerve, getting irritated, and then you have pain that goes around the thigh and the leg. Generally that is what happens. But you don't have this kind of pain you're talking about, where the pain on the leg will go away once you pee. That kind of spasmodic pain or pain that comes on full bladder goes up generally tends to happen in the pelvic area. But it can be referred pain, because I told you pain is just pain keeps on getting more and more areas involved. So maybe that is what is happening with you.
Yeah, actually, that is happening to me. It started from bladder, then it traveled to whole body, then burning of the whole body started. So
yes.
Just now they have told me that I have central sensitization. That's why all that is.
So a lot of people use the term central sensitization. It basically means that you are more and more and more and more neurons are getting involved, like it's disconnected all, right? So I think you should act upon, I can tell you one very important thing. When your pain is a major symptom over urgency frequency, mind control and meditation is very, 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 very important. You have to learn ways of taking your mind off the pain. I know it's extremely hard, but that is your Everest. Literally, like that's like your Everest to climb. Because when you have pain, the more you focus on the pain even becomes worse. Pain has a very big, the pain exists and the pain is very bad. But the minute you put your mind to it, it becomes 10x. So a big aspect of pain control also is this, that you really work on getting your mind off the pain, right? Extremely important, you know, because otherwise what happens is your mind is on it, and the pain when mind is on it is only worsens and worsens and worsens. So I would really request you to undergo relaxation of pelvic floor really properly, start working on. Do you do meditation, Arun?
Yeah, I do meditation. I am trained in CBT as well as dialectical behavior therapy, and I'm undergoing CBT for chronic pain with my psychiatrist too. And yes, it is helping me. It helps me a lot.
Yes,
With it,
because mind off the pain really helps you. But having said that, you know, what you should do is, maybe you may need what happens is this. I've done a little bit of bladder inflation. वो खत्म हो गया. It's finished. And then I did a little bit of CBT. It doesn't work like that. You have to work together. Because then the inflammatory process started already. And then the CBT may help you a little bit, but the inflammatory process will come back. Correct? So everything has to be done together. It has to be a holistic treatment. So you can't do piecemeal. I did this a little bit, I did that a little bit, then it doesn't work together. Because you've done it at a wrong time, maybe,
Anyone else wants to ask?
Now, one very important thing. Never, never, never undergo dilatation. How many of you undergo dilatation?
All
Maybe
are
your
on,
group is on. Huh?
all on mute. Yeah, yeah.
Anybody
Which
has
dilatation?
dilatation? Urethra, they do this thing. You always do a thing. They put in, they dilate the urethra.
yes, there are people in the group who have gone through it.
What?
Yes, there are few people in our group, those who have gone in the dilation.
Never, never, never do it. Because your problem is not the urethra is stenosed. If you see a lot of women who have got bladder pain, inflammation, will have constipation or they will have dysfunctional voiding. I think already that the pelvic muscle is not relaxing. You go to urologist, they'll start doing dilatation. The problem is not that. The problem is pelvic muscle not relaxing. Now, when how does bladder pain syndrome arise? It can arise from pre-existing UTI. You have got infection over and over again, and these men inflammation. It can arise on its own because sometimes an inflammatory condition do arise on its own. It can arise because you have coexisting IBS or endometriosis, and those inflammatory mediators coming and hitting the bladder. Or else it may start with dysfunctional voiding. Some patients come to me. I have a girl coming. I must tell you this history. I had a girl coming. Her father and brother died in a car accident suddenly. At 17, father and brother died in a car accident. Suddenly she went into dysfunctional voiding. What happens is many of our women, their pelvis responds to stress by squeezing up. It's a very woman response. Like many of us will express anxiety by screaming out. Other women will have an anxiety response, but the pelvis responds to the anxiety by squeezing up. Suddenly she could not pee. Imagine not being able to pee. She had 700, 800 ml inside her bladder. And she went to Gangaram hospital. They would dilate her every 2 months. They would go in, dilate, and she will be able to pee for some time. Again, she will squeeze up. Right? They would keep. She underwent 20 dilatations. And then she came to me. She did not have IBS. She did not have bladder pain at that time at all. But when she came to me, started having the pain had started. Right? So what happens is when they have dysfunctional voiding and you're not emptying your urine, and what is urine? Urine is a collection of irritants. It starts irritating the bladder. And they start developing bladder pain syndrome as a reaction to the dysfunctional voiding. So I put her through this whole therapy where mind control, the 4 exercise videos I give everybody, my patients, how to relax the pelvic floor, and then physiotherapy on the pelvic floor, the blowing maneuver along with biofeedback. Biofeedback really works. And her post-void residual came around 10 cc. And then I had to also put her through bladder pain syndrome treatment, the installations, etc. And she's completely fine. But so many women will come with dysfunctional voiding leading to bladder pain syndrome. So, the combination, permutation combination, sometimes you don't know what comes first. Bladder pain syndrome can lead to dysfunctional voiding. Dysfunctional voiding can lead to bladder pain syndrome.
I personally feel that trauma has some kind of connection with IBS, because I've come across many people who has some post-traumatic.
Absolutely. One thing I must tell you, after I came to urogynecology, and I really spent a lot of time with my patients, and what I realized is that our mind-body connect is huge. And unfortunately, medical science doesn't teach us much of that. We are so curative. And the mind-body connect is completely lost. I get too many women where they respond to stress from the body. They will have constipation because they're squeezing up. IBS comes because of that. Because how they have dysfunctional body, they're not able to pee. Similarly, they'll get constipation. Because when they go to defecate, the first reaction is relaxation of pelvic. The first thing that happens, your pelvic muscle relax. Imagine, if you want to defecate or urinate, and you want to pass urine, your muscle has to relax, right? Otherwise, you won't be able to pee or defecate. They start squeezing up. And then they will go into this whole bad cycle of constipation, diarrhea, IBS. Then they will have a lot of bladder issues because, then they start squeezing up during the, voiding, passing urine. So all of it goes together. So mind is something, even I tell myself, though I must tell you, I must confess here, I hardly meditate. I look at medicine as a meditation for me. So, for me, doing my surgery is meditation. Doing work is meditation. Talking to you is right now meditation because I'm very focused on you. My mind is completely on you. But ideally, everybody should find half an hour in the morning, half an hour to the evening for themselves and meditate. And when you say meditation, it's very important that you do the right kind of meditation. Even meditation, people say, oh, I did yoga. No, yoga is not meditation. Shavasana is not meditation. Meditation is real meditation where you sit down and actually learn how to, focus. Do you know what meditation is, all of you? Do you meditate, Balaka?
I am into chanting. I do Buddhist chanting. So that is what I do.
So whatever you do, what you have to do is basically for half an hour in the morning, your mind is completely free of any thoughts about what you're doing.
Yes, that is exactly how we do Buddhist chanting. We do half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the day.
Yeah, so I tell my patients, focus on your breathing, right? So you keep on breathing. So when you focus on your breathing and you don't lose count of your breath. So don't try to take thoughts off because it will not happen. I can't tell my mind, don't think. Correct? So what do? When a thought comes in, I don't run behind it, take it out. What I do is get my thought back to the breath. So when I lose count of my breath, I get back to it. Similarly, the chanting, right? So if you can't lose count, right? You'll go on and on. So focus on it. So it's a very important thing. Half an hour morning, half an hour evening during this lockdown period is very, very important.
But I'm not in the lockdown period. I'm more busy than ever, so I'm not getting time to even chant. And I'm actually everything has flared up. So because managing everything is difficult, and I'm sure everybody is going through the same thing. So any other question? Anybody wants to ask anything?
I must say, even during this lockdown, thanks to communication with the doc, I'm having the best time I've had since I have started having IC. Touch wood.
Touch wood, Ruchita.
Yeah. I'm half of my mind to have a chocolate doc, but I'm controlling myself.
Please. Ruchita, write to me. Can I have a chocolate?
I went to Switzerland and I had so many chocolates and I came back saying I had the best time and I had a chocolate. She was close to slapping me.
No, I don't physically abuse my patient. Ruchita, don't tell them.
She was so angry with me as to how dare you have a chocolate, and that was the last one.
But No, I think those who practice diet for a very long time, then they can gradually keep adding food back to their diet. Because I personally now can tolerate a lot of things that I couldn't tolerate 2 years back.
No, they can.
You think I can have a chocolate, doc?
Chocolate is very. See, you can add a lot of other foods. Chocolate is cocoa, and cocoa is caffeine. It's one of the worst ones. It's one of the worst ones. So I mean, if she told me that I want to have, say for example, a papaya, or maybe have that kind of thing, that's a different thing. But chocolate is a little.
No, but I felt
the chocolate content will be 70%, 80%. That's bad.
Hmm.
So be careful.
Yeah. No.
But it
I felt very good after I gave up cocoa. I really felt very good after I gave up cocoa.
so
That's surely.
it's very true that you can start adding up adding back one at a time and see what works, what doesn't work, right? Certain things are really bad.
But doctor, for IC patients, for each patient, I think the trigger is also unique. Like
Yes.
the IC flare trigger, because many patients in my group, they can tolerate tomato, others cannot. I cannot.
Absolutely.
For me, the biggest trigger is coffee. Even now, coffee is always, it makes me a little difficult. But then, this time we were there, Gail was also with me. I tried wine and I could actually tolerate. I was very skeptical that maybe I won't be able to tolerate, but next day I was fine. So that means I can gradually.
Right. You are very right here. You are very, 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 very right here that the trigger point for everybody is different. And the fact that after a prolonged period of complete diet control, you might start adding back one after the other and see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And you create your own diet. That is true. But that is a little like 6 months later, like a short time later.
Yeah, here I would like to say that I personally, for 1.5 years, I had only boiled rice and boiled vegetables. That was my diet for 1.5 years. I was also on Elmiron, Pentosan, and that was my diet. I had gone to Bangalore and I was eating in a hotel, and the waiter, he was literally, ma'am, aap roz ek hi khana kyun khati hai? Thoda sa dal le lo. I said, no, the tarka may flare me out. So yes, I tried 1.5 years of sacrifice. Now I can add little bit of wine.
This is why not finished 1.5 years with me.
So I think, doc, what happens is we are even scared to try anything new. Like, even if probably if I become okay, the memory of pain is so bad that if I have wine or if I have chocolate and if I react bad, it's just so scary to start these things.
Bella, I was going to say something.
Yeah.
No, I agree. But like I knew. See, the thing is this: when you go to see Switzerland, I know what you're going to do. Even you're going to have a chocolate there, right? So I know it's going to happen. So I have to kind of give you, like, if I tell you do 10x, you will do 5x. Correct?
Yeah.
Then you do 5x, you will do 2x. So I need to be very careful to sit with you and talk to you about all of it. And then, of course, going forward, I have many patients who are coming out, adding stuff. But the newer lot of patients, you really sit with them because, and ensure that they are following the diet really, really well. And after that, little. But I agree.
So how long do you think we should be in remission to understand that now we can start adding things?
It's a very difficult thing to say. I hope bladder pain syndrome was such a easy condition because you can't. I would say, like, if you are like 6 months, you've got nothing happening and everything is fine, maybe you can start adding. But then problem is that 6 months later something might happen stressful, right?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like, the problem with this condition is that things change from people to people, right? Travel is a big stressor. Going by, I mean, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, for me, travel is very de-stressing. So whenever I travel, I am usually.
Yes. Same here.
Ruchita had a great time. You had a great time. I have another patient who traveled and suddenly into a flare. So you can't predict who's respond to what. You have to find your own triggers and your flares, and then you work on it, right? And then I have to work with you on it. That's how it is.
We are running short of time. We have 3 minutes left. If any other questions,
Dana, sorry, I took a lot of time.
No. If any other questions, just quickly. One question, if anybody has. Nobody? Just raise your hand or send me a chat.
क्वेश्चन
निशा जी, हाँ आप पूछिए।
हेलो, मेरा ये है कि डॉक्टर साहब, मेरी फ्रीक्वेंसी बहुत ज्यादा है। जब मैं बार बार वॉशरूम के लिए जाती हूँ तो मेरी फिर पेन बढ़ जाती है, और एट द टाइम ऑफ पेइंग तो वो स्ट्रीम स्टार्ट नहीं होती। आई हैव टू पुश। व्हाट इज द रीजन?
वही मैं बोली ना आपको कि कभी पेन होता है तो हमारे आजू बाजू के मसल जो होते हैं ना, वो कड़क हो जाते हैं, ऐसे में जाते हैं. ओके,
एट नाइट आई हैव, रात के टाइम मेरे को बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम होती है यूरिन को पास करने में.
यही है. क्या होता है, अगर आपको आप इमेजिन करिएगा कि आपको थंब है ना, आपका थंब जो है वो अगर उसमें इन्फ्लेमेशन हो गया है, उसमें सूजन आ गई है, तो आजू बाजू के मसल भी जो है वो एकदम कड़क हो जाएंगे, है ना. ऐसे ही होता है जब भी ब्लैडर इन्फ्लेम्ड होता है तो नीचे के जो मसल होते हैं ना, हमारे पेल्विक मसल, जिसे पेशाब की नली जाती है, वो ऐसे कड़क हो जाते हैं. तो आप जब पेशाब करने जाते हैं तो पेशाब करने के टाइम पे मसल को रिलैक्स होना होता है. अगर आपका मसल रिलैक्स नहीं करेगा, देखो आपका मसल ऐसा है, इफ यू कैन सी, आपका मसल रिलैक्स नहीं करेगा तो पेशाब की नली खुलेगी नहीं और ब्लैडर जाएगा नहीं, पेशाब नहीं होगा. तो आपको क्या करना है, बेसिकली आपका ट्रीटमेंट अधूरा रह गया है, तो आपका अर्जेंसी का ट्रीटमेंट करना है. मे बी आपका इंफॉर्मेशन वापस आ गया है, उसको ट्रीट करना है. और फिर आपको जो हमने 4 वीडियो बोले हैं ना, वो आपको करने हैं. माइंड कंट्रोल करना है और हम फिजियोथेरेपी, बायोफीडबैक करना होता है. बायोफीडबैक मतलब आपको आजू बाजू के मसल को कैसे रिलैक्स करना है वो सिखाते हैं. वो आपको करना होगा, बिकॉज बहुत सारे विमेन को ऐसा होता है जिसको इन्फ्लेमेशन है, उसका उनको पेशाब करने की भी प्रॉब्लम होती है. तो ये पॉइंट मैं सबको बताती रहती हूँ.
इनको कैसे रिलैक्स करना है, इनको हाउ कैन डू.
वो ब्लोइंग मनूवर सिखाया ना मैंने, बोला ना कि आपने स्ट्रॉ से ब्लो करना है. लेकिन आप कहाँ है, दिल्ली में है कि मुंबई में है?
आई एम इन चंडीगढ़.
आप एक बार दिल्ली में आ सकते हैं कि हम सिखा देंगे आपको. आई मीन आई विल गिव इट एज अ, I mean, she doesn't have to kind of, this is just a.
दिल्ली में मैं डॉक्टर राजेश तनेजा के पास आती हूँ, पर ड्यू टू लॉकडाउन आई couldn't come.
लेकिन ये फिजियोथेरेपी के लिए आप एक बार आइएगा और देखिएगा हम कैसे करते हैं, आपको सिखा देंगे, है ना, कि कैसे करना है.
Okay, so we are running short of time. So thank you so much, doctor, for coming and answering all our questions. Thank you very much. We hope to have you again. So
I'll be very happy to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sir.
Bye bye.
Bye, doc.
And if anybody has a question, more question, you can just send it to me. I'll send it up.